Hey y'all, welcome to a special Saturday night edition of It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. The reason for the chuckles is because this has been somewhat of a, not somewhat, it's been a process, okay? Of I have tried on three different time slots to actually record today. It was just not working out. I do appreciate everybody that's been hanging in there with me, subscribers and supporters alike. Thank you so much for your patience, and I do appreciate you. There have been some life changes that are going on, and that's why I'm doing the show at this time as opposed to my usual Thursdays. If there is going to be a change in recording, I will definitely communicate that just to kind of let you know what's going on, and then maybe picking up a different day or doing something different from there. But what I wanted to make sure that I got into were, acknowledging the passings of two important sports figures to me, and then also just celebrating Terence Crawford's monumental win and anything else that comes up Pittsburgh Steeler wise, or maybe even boxing wise. I'll probably discuss those as well, but the main priority is just making sure that I've go ahead and go with the format, which is what I'm about to get into right now. Sorry. Okay, so unfortunately, Ricky Hatton had actually passed a few days ago. I did not have an opportunity, and I think it was Sunday that he officially passed. Or I'm sorry, early Sunday morning, where they actually found Ricky Hatton's body. They don't know when he officially passed as of yet. But this program, is filmed Saturday, September 20th, 2025. So if there's any new information that actually comes into play, please make sure that you regard that as opposed to the date that I'm actually recording. So, having said that, I wanted to make sure that I celebrated Ricky Hatton's accomplishments. All right. Ricky Hatton, of course, was a Hall of Fame fighter, 45-3, 32 KOs of the 45 wins that he actually had. Here are some notable names that he has fought. Now, this is kind of like, and I don't want to sound like the back in my day kind of guy, but this is like back in my day, which was like the early 2000s, where I really immersed myself into boxing. So there are going to be some names on here that may not be familiar to you, but to boxing circles, people that have actually followed boxing since the 2000s or late 90s, you'll be familiar with these names. First name, Ben Tacky. Ben Tacky, best described as like a rough, tough veteran, a gatekeeper. If a gatekeeper was like, if there was a gold medal for a gatekeeper, he'd probably get triple gold. Ben Tacky was a fighter that was as tough as they come, and there are quite a few occasions where Ben Tacky, even though it may look like he was physically overwhelmed, he, to his credit, fought back, like vehemently fought back. Even in this fight against Ricky Hatton, at one point he actually had Ricky Hatton bleeding. Now, there were some headbutts involved, things of that nature, but there was a real fight going on, and yes, to Ricky Hatton's credit, the majority of it was Ricky Hatton's way. But in those spurts that Ben Tacky would fight back, I mean, he let you know what he was there for, and it wasn't to lose. So a unanimous decision against Ben Tacky is nothing to sneeze at. Ray Oliveira, or Sugar Oliveira. Oliveira was a guy that was a very solid professional. I think most people will probably remember, most people in boxing circles will probably remember him for fighting I think it was Emmanuel Burton. I think he might have just changed his name to Augustus, if I'm not mistaken. Emmanuel Burton, or Emmanuel Augustus, was the drunken master of boxing. So basically, he did some very, very unorthodox things. Very entertaining, though. Very entertaining. I would suggest that you actually go back and look at highlights of Emmanuel Augustus, and you'll see some highlights where he you'll see some highlights where he actually punched Ray Oliveira with both fists, which is an illegal move, but it was very entertaining to watch. But Oliveira was a very solid professional fighter. That was not. He's not an easy win, although Ricky Hatton did KO him in the 11th round. Now, let's see here. He also, more importantly, fought Kostya Tszyu. Okay, Kostya Tszyu, of course, was best known for. Oh God, it always pains me to say this because I'm a fan of Zab Judah. He was the guy that knocked Zab Tszyu. Kostya Tszyu was the gentleman that knocked Zab Judah senseless. Basically, he beat him senseless. I do not like that moment because I am still a Zab Judah supporter, and every time that comes up, and it's a meme that he'll never be able to live down. People that's people's go-to when someone is actually getting the blank beat out of them. They always go to that particular clip, and I hate it because I'm still a Zab Judah supporter. I ain't gonna, I ain't leaving them because times is rough. And the fact that Zab is a southpaw says something. Usually I don't really like southpaws because you have to do everything backwards with them. But it's neither here nor there. Okay. But anyway, he actually beat Kostya Tszyu. Made Kostya Tszyu quit. I think that's a very important detail. Okay. Now, yes, his corner technically waved it off, but he basically beat the wheel out of Kostya Tszyu. Very important to note. All right. And that's really what got the attention of the boxing world, is to make someone like that quit. So that really says something about his relentless style. Ricky Hatton also fought a gentleman by the name of Luis Collazo. Now, if you followed boxing like in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know who Luis Collazo is. He is a tough Puerto Rican veteran that was from New York. Always put up a great fight, win, lose, or draw. And he actually beat Luis Collazo unanimous decision. Juan Urango, which at the time that Ricky Hatton was actually fighting him, was a very well-known knockout artist in boxing circles. This guy almost, okay, not quite. He was getting to Roberto Duran status, to where, he was just knocking guys out almost at will. And Ricky Hatton beat this man by unanimous decision. Let me repeat that. He beat the man by unanimous decision, which means not only did he win, he was able to actually withstand those punches and was able to win. That's no small feat. You also have the legendary Jose Luis Castillo. Jose Luis Castillo is best known for his 2 Floyd Mayweather fights and an iconic fight. And I repeat this again, an iconic fight with the late, great Diego Chico Corrales. If you are a fan of boxing and you're a fan of seeing someone actually overcome overwhelming odds, quite literally overwhelming odds, and be resilient enough to actually win a fight, please watch that fight. That fight, I believe, took place in 2005. And again, it's Jose Luis Castillo against Diego Chico Corrales. Now, what I'll say about the Ricky Hatton fight with Jose Luis Castillo, and this is why this is important. Ricky Hatton actually knocked this same guy out in round 4. Now, granted, the argument would probably be, oh, well, he may not have been the same and things of that nature, but Jose Luis Castillo was no pushover whenever he was actually in the ring. So, y'all can, whoever's hating on that can miss me with that. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment to take a guy like Jose Luis Castillo and actually knock him out in round 4. No small feat at all. And also, he actually TKO'd Paulie Malignaggi in round 11 of a 12-round fight, of course. Paulie used to be a guy that I really favored, especially in the early 2000s. I actually applauded his efforts when he fought Miguel Cotto and was beaten badly beaten. But when I found out that unfortunately Paulie was racist, I could no longer support him. So there's that. But again, these notable names that actually fought Ricky Hatton, and Ricky Hatton actually had victories against, was no small feat, thus deserving of a Hall of Fame ballot. Now, he was also unfortunately best known for his fight with Floyd Mayweather, where he fell victim to a check hook, I believe probably in the 11th round of their fight. And then, unfortunately, Manny Pacquiao made quick work of him, knocking him completely out in the second round. But losing to the two best fighters on the planet at that particular point in time is nothing to really be ashamed of. Ricky Hatton's fighting style was a relentless one. From the opening bell to the closing bell, Ricky Hatton was balls to the wall, all gas, no brakes. He was just an action-oriented fighter. And it makes you appreciate guys that give it their all in their ring. So for Ricky Hatton, I will go ahead and do a silent 10 count. Thank you. My condolences to those who actually were touched in a positive way by Ricky Hatton's life and legacy. And thank you all so much for my supporters and, of course, subscribers for bearing with me through this particular process. I have one more memorandum that's personally important to me. Dale Lolley, who was a Pittsburgh-based sports reporter, also passed. He lost his battle with cancer at age 56. And, he left behind a family. And as far as his work goes, he was actually a contributor to DK Pittsburgh Sports, Steelers Digest, and then one of my personal favorites, Steelers Nation Radio, which is where I actually came to know Dale Lolley. Dale Lolley was an old school type of reporter. He was not afraid to ask tough questions, but he did it in a very respectable way. He was also not afraid. He was also not afraid to speak his mind either. But again, he did it in a humanistic way, to where these coaches and players were not viewed as these outcome machines, or just inanimate objects that were supposed to do a task and then that was it. I definitely appreciated Dale Lolley for providing quality edutainment, and shouts out to Amanda Seals. Edutainment as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers history, what the what the team composition or makeup may be, also tendencies of the teams in select years, and then just kind of being able to get a good feel of what may take place during the upcoming game that Sunday, Thursday, or Monday, rather. I know for a fact that Dale and his partner Matt Williamson had gotten us through COVID pretty well. And also the years after that, the Steelers Nation radio show has pretty much been a part of my daily life, and I do want to thank him and Matt Williamson for the positive contributions that they've actually given Steelers fans worldwide. And then for Dale Lolley, to your family, co-workers, and especially anyone that you have reached out to in a positive manner and touched in a positive way. My condolences to you all. And Dale, you will be missed, and we certainly appreciate you. And while we're on that subject, I don't think that I actually said rest in peace to Craig Wolfley, who was also a former Pittsburgh Steelers player turned Pittsburgh Steelers media personality. He'll definitely be missed. He also did broadcasting for the games. He was a color commentator, which was a guy that actually just would actually just kind of paint a picture of what's actually going on with plays and things of that nature. And he had a great understanding as far as how the game was actually played. So to Dale Lolley and Craig Wolfley, we will miss you guys both. And to the Wolfley family and friends and supporters of his work, and also people that he's touched individually in a positive way, we will definitely miss you. All right. So now that we have gotten the bereavements and everything else out of the way, let's go on to some more positive news, which is Terence Crawford has become undisputed last Saturday, of course, by defeating Saul Canelo Alvarez in what should have been a wide unanimous decision, but but yeah, leave it to Tim Cheatham, emphasis on Cheatham, and Max DeLuca to kind of cut things close. Not kind of, they did cut things close. And unfortunately, Terence Bud Crawford had to put on such a dominant performance that they could not deny him from actually winning. If it was close at all, we know where those cards were going. So, and that just kind of brings me to a point here. When a sports official like a basketball ref or a football officiate or a person that's on a football officiating crew screws up, and then also, more importantly, someone that's a boxing judge screws up, these people need to be interviewed after the game or fight. I'm sick and tired of these people being able to slip out the back and not have to answer to anyone after they screwed up a game or a fight. There has to be some, and people preach about accountability, and they find players. I know in the NFL they find players and coaches for speaking ill about referees that actually, or officiating crews that blow calls. Those crews and those individuals actually need to be held accountable. That especially goes for people that are judging fights in boxing. You have a direct impact to this person's career / their life. There has to be some sort of accountability. There has to be accountability for these people that actually do these questionable things, or sometimes even heinous things. and it just does not seem like it's enough. There are supposed to be some checks and balances for those types of things, but it has not been displayed nearly enough as it needs to be. These people need to know that there are going to be real consequences if you screw up scorecards, and also if you blow calls in games. Like, it's just it is getting ridiculous, and people preach about accountability all the time, but when it's actually time to make someone accountable like that, there's nothing. So someone needs to reach out and make sure that DeLuca and, more importantly, Cheatham are held accountable for those scorecards. All right, so again, trying to move on to something more positive. A lot of people want Terence Bud Crawford to actually fight David Benavidez. Even I became a prisoner of the moment, but then again, I was thinking, much like my big brother, Junior the Truth. Y'all please check out the Black Coffee Club or the Punch Junkie podcast that he has on YouTube. There's also a Punch Junkie network. I think it's www.punchjunkie.com or thepunchjunkie.com, thepunchjunkie.com. And check out the page that he actually has. And like he says, it is the last real place. It is the last place for real boxing fans to actually come together and talk boxing. The Black Coffee Club also is a very, very important instrument, especially if you're trying to self-improve. I highly recommend you check out that channel. It does help you refocus and reprioritize. Even though my process is a lot slower than most others, my process of self-improvement is beginning, and it is definitely taking effect. And I feel the changes that are actually going on in my life. And, I owe part of that to the Black Coffee Club series for self-improvement. So, again, thank you, Big Bro Junior the Truth. I appreciate you. So, I think what Terence Crawford, and this is in reference to what my big brother was saying as well, he and I both believe that maybe Terence Crawford should just move down to 160 and then just collect all the belts from there. The WBA champion is Erislandy Lara. I think Janabek has 2 belts. Hang on just a second. I'm going to find out what they are. I know one of them is going to be the WBO because he's a top ranked fighter. And he also has the IBF. Okay, so he has the IBF and WBO. Erislandy Lara has the WBA. And for whatever reason, just as a heads up, if you guys are researching, BoxRec does not recognize the WBA. So you're probably going to have to go to the WBA's website to look up who the champions are there. But yeah, again, BoxRec, if you're trying to research who has belts where, does not recognize the WBA. But my guy Carlos Adames has the WBC World Championship belt. So the thinking behind that is, why not have a round robin tournament like they did back in the day, where Bernard Hopkins first got undisputed, where all the champions actually fought in a tournament, and then one man takes all the belts. So I think that would be great if that were to happen, and I'm sure that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh can make that happen. I guess it's just a matter of Terence Crawford being interested in doing that and going from there. But I would love to see Terence Crawford become a now 4-time undisputed champion. I don't think that in the history of boxing there's been a in the four belt era, and let me make sure that I'm clear on that. In the four belt era, that there has ever been a four-time undisputed boxing champion, and I think if there's anything left to strive for, I think it would be that. He beat Canelo too convincingly to try to do a rematch. I know and understand that there's supposedly going to be big money in that, but to be honest with you, if someone dominates the first time in a fight, then a rematch is probably going to be more of the same, or it's going to be a lot worse. Which is kind of why when Earl said that he wanted to fight Terence Crawford again, I was not for that. He completely destroyed Earl, and I'm still gonna support Earl Spence Jr. Just to be clear, like just because my guy loses doesn't mean that I quit on him. And especially the way that he's actually represented here at Dallas Fort Worth at home, I'm not finna quit on him. But I also am not gonna be a yes person and agree to everything or every move that he gonna make. I think that it's important for him to be able to rebound from this and then fight. Earl should probably fight a couple of tune-ups and then be able to just kind of move forward, because he's been out of the ring so long. I know what he believe in. He don't take no tune-ups, and he's gonna fight the very best to stay motivated or whatnot. But I think after a traumatic, and I'm not trying to belittle him or anything else like that, but that was a traumatic experience. Like, I had a hard time watching that happen. I couldn't imagine living through what actually happened. That man had to live through what actually happened. And don't get me wrong, there's no shame in being beaten by the best. But if you're being beaten like that, period, then yeah, it's time to actually just try and set the reset button and build yourself back up. And I don't think that you do that by jumping in there with somebody that's probably had a little bit more, is probably going to have a lot more ring, uh, oh Lord, what is the term I'm looking for? He's been out of the ring too long, and I know ring rust is a term that we use, but someone that's been more active. I'm sorry, yeah, someone that's actually been more active. Out of the opponents that he wants to probably fight, they're going to be a lot more active than him. So I think it's imperative that he actually gets a couple, not one, not just one. I'm saying a couple of guys to warm up on, and then be able to just move forward from there. Um, I think that's hugely important. It's not just the physical beating that he took. When you get beat like that, it's psychological as well. Like, you're only human. If you get beaten like that, there are going to be some things in your mind that you are going to have to overcome. And in order for you to properly be able to overcome those things, you have to be confident in what you're doing. If you go in there and you feel like you want to take on a big challenge, and yes, you may on the surface feel confident, but once that first hit comes and it makes you uncomfortable, then what happens? I just think that it's important for Earl to try to build his way back up, as opposed to just trying to jump in there with somebody like Charlo or somebody like that. And I understand they've been all, out of the ring almost the same amount of time, but I don't think that's a good matchup for either one of those guys either, because it could damage their careers. Well, moving on, again, no shame in losing to the best guy on the face of the planet. But this is about Bud, so I'm sorry about deviating and getting off track about my guy. But Of course, again, I would love to see Bud Crawford unify 160 or be undisputed in 160 rather, and then whatever he decides to do from there would be on him. So yeah, I can't wait to find out what he is going to do next. I do realize that there is some Tank Davis news. Um, okay, so this exhibition match is being moved from Georgia to Miami. Um, the officials at Georgia would just flat out refuse to try to have the fight there. One of the officials who was outspoken is mentioning that it's a circus and they don't want that there. But it's an entertainment event, to be quite honest with you, and it would bring lots and lots of revenue to the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia as well. I don't really understand why you would deny something like this. If Texas, right here at home, had Jake Paul and Mike Tyson here, I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to take Jake Paul and Tank Davis. Sorry, y'all, literally got choked up. Um, so yeah, I don't understand why Atlanta wouldn't take that fight. You know, unless they're that determined not to have someone like that in there. Now, as a boxing fan, like a real boxing fan, these moves that these moves that Gervonta Tank Davis are making just kind of further cements the fact that he's not he's not a real boxer. He's not a real fighter. He is a prize fighter, like he mentioned, and basically he's an entertainer that actually he's an entertainer that's actually good at boxing, is what I would probably label him as. Nothing else. He may, and shouts out to 503 Lion, he may actually try to make it seem like he would fight the best guys in his era, but he's not doing that. He's clearly not doing that because he's had opportunities to actually fight Devin Haney. He only fought Ryan Garcia due to terms and conditions that would make Ryan Garcia less than 100%, so he could take advantage of it. And to be quite honest with you, now that I'm thinking about it, Gervonta Tank Davis is worse than Canelo Alvarez. And people know how much I dislike the businessman Canelo Alvarez. I absolutely cannot stand the business model for Tank Davis. Tank Davis, the businessman, I can't stand him. The fighter, the fighter is actually a generational talent. But since the businessman and the fighter are making the same moves, I might have to just put them in a category. I'm not here to be one of these people that actually try to bash Tank Davis. But what I will say is that I'm extremely disappointed that we will not be able to see Gervonta Tank Davis fight at his full potential. I'm very disappointed and frustrated to find out that he does not care about legacy. I'm also very disappointed and frustrated to find out that he is completely going to waste his talent trying to quote unquote secure the bag rather than secure a legacy that will outlive him. But these are things that Gervonta Tank Davis has to live with. So if he don't give up, I don't neither. And I'll just drop it right there. So, moving on to other news here. My Pittsburgh Steelers this week play the New England Patriots. We're a 1-1 football team, and unfortunately, I just don't think that we are very stable as far as like consistently being able to stop anybody or stop our opponents, run or pass. And then, of course, we're not completely stable offensively either. We're very ineffective running the ball. Our passing game is, for the most part, effective. But if you're having to, if you're successfully able to rush the passer and then reduce our quarterback to having to constantly dump the ball off so he does not get hit, it's not going to be a very functional offense as well. Therefore, we are going to lose to the hated Patriots because I cannot stand them. We have endured humiliating loss after humiliating loss after humiliating loss after humiliating loss from them since, I would say, the late 90s. They kicked us out of the playoffs in 96, the 96-97 season. And then, unfortunately, we lost the AFC Championship game, which sent me over the edge into full-fledged hating the New England Patriots. And no, I do not take that back. I still hate them. So it really pains me to say that, unfortunately, we may not win this game either. We'll probably wind up being 1-2. And then we'll wind up playing the Minnesota Vikings in, I think, Dublin, Ireland. Hopefully we win that game, but this New England game ain't going to work out. And I hate the fact that we are losing to the New England Patriots yet again, even though they are not the force that they once were. It really does bother me. I think the only way that we could actually be able to win is if we are able to take advantage of them being one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. If we can get them to maybe jump off sides quite a few times. If we can actually get them to shoot themselves in the foot with holding penalties and then false starts on their offense, that would be great. But again, having to rely on penalties and mental mistakes from your opponent is a hope-based strategy. And as we all know, hope is not a strategy. So I had the Pittsburgh Steelers actually losing, I'm going to probably say 26-17 or something like that. I don't see this as a good outing at all. I sincerely hope I'm wrong because I hate this team. I really hate this team. But you know, the fact that we are not a really good football team at this point, and I understand that, hey, we're just developing, and you know, this is an extension of the preseason, and you need to relax and all of that. Yeah, okay, that's all well and good, but this is a third game. And then once we lose this one, I certainly hope that we are able to rebound against the Minnesota Vikings and become 2-2 by the time the bye week hits. Hopefully we get some guys back by the time that the bye week is over, and then we're just able to try and string together some wins and have a decent record at this point. That's all I'm striving for at this point. But we shall see. We shall see. I think the keys to victory, if there are any for this game, is to, of course, eliminate any mental mistakes, establish a solid running game. I don't expect a good one. If we're able to pick up at least 4 yards per carry, I think that would be respectable enough for the Patriots to bite on play fakes, things of that nature, which could actually help us get good field position or become field flipping plays, which just kind of means that, you know, you're on the other side of the 50. But on defense, it's imperative that we actually stop the run. It's imperative that we are able to stay in our lanes, and regardless of what the quarterback's motion, where the quarterback looks like they're running to is, or maybe the flow of the offensive line, or maybe the actual skill moves of the ball carrier, or things of that nature. I think it is, no, it's not. I think it is imperative that we actually maintain the lanes that we are supposed to be defending. If we are able to somehow do that consistently, then we win this game. Then we have a good chance of winning this game. Let me put it that way. And that's just on defense. On offense, if we are able to, again, sustain a respectable running game, if we are able to protect Aaron Rodgers and allow him to be able to kind of get the ball out on time, then, we have a better chance of winning. If even one of those two things don't happen, we lose. We flat out lose. I don't want to get too much. I don't want to get on a soapbox too much about this, but again, it just does not look good for my Steelers, and yeah, we'll just have to see what happens, week 4, when we play the Vikings in Dublin, Ireland, and hopefully we come away with a victory from that game. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get the show wrapped up. It looks like I am well over 40 minutes, so thank you all so much for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you. I want to give a shout outs to my brothers, Jared 11 Green, Coach 67 Sports TV, my big brother Junior The Truth. Excuse me. Also, my brother Cadillac Red and the Usual Suspect 6. All of these gentlemen, and of course our founder and creator, the General 78 Sports TV as well. You can find all these gentlemen on YouTube. Please just look them up by their handle names. And most of the time, my brothers, Jared 11 Green, and then my brothers, Coach 67 Sports TV, they have a plethora of shows that they have on YouTube. Particularly the Southern Baller Show, which is a show that comes on at about 3:30 Central Standard Time, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, on Sundays. Check that out. My brother, Coach 67 Sports TV, has shows that come on throughout the week. So please check out his content. I post this content and try to share it all the time, just in case you may miss it. And yes, please, again, just support my LDBC brothers, most of which I'll go ahead and make sure that I post on my channel. That way you have a direct link to them and you can subscribe to their shows and like their content. Again, thank you all so much for hanging in there with me. This is Brent Fox. It's just me.